In the midst of the ongoing warfare, the United Nations says there are more than 50,000 pregnant women in Gaza right now. That brings a birth rate of 150 births per day in a war zone. So one of the ways the United Nations is trying to help is by providing birthing kits to assist in labor. Laila Baker is the Regional Director for UN Population Fund for Arab States. Ms. Baker, thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Baker, let's begin with those birthing kits or special or emergency delivery kits. What's in them?
Well, there are a number of different types of kits that we're trying to provide to pregnant women direly in need, given the fact that the healthcare system in Gaza has been nearly in collapse and that fuel is running out for provision of hospitalized care. Some of them are as basic as a plastic sheet, a razor blade, and a cord to tie off the umbilical, a piece of rope to tie off the umbilical cord with some soap. However, with the lack of privacy, hygiene, and water, even those will be of limited use to a pregnant woman in need. Some of the more extensive, what we call kits, but are actually surgical units with many pieces of equipment, lots of disposables and supplies that can help with hospital facilities to cope with the dire needs that are overwhelming them at the moment.
Ms. Baker, I must admit that when we were doing the research for this interview, I was actually quite surprised by some of the emergency birthing kits, just as you mentioned, being a bar of soap, a pair of gloves, a plastic sheet, and some rudimentary supplies. Is that safe? Is that good enough for people giving birth in a war zone?
I might ask you the same question about what is safe right now in Gaza, with 2.2 million people completely under siege, with a collapse of the health system, with no safety, with communications having been cut for 36 hours and ambulances not even being able to reach anyone. There are only 4 ambulances left that can even reach people right now. The only thing that we can try and do to save the lives of mothers who are critically in danger right now and will give birth. Babies wait for no one. So we try to at least provide the supplies that, to the best of our ability, under these dire circumstances, and until an unconditional and unhindered access to the Gaza Strip and the 2.2 million Palestinian civilians in need of humanitarian assistance, until that can happen, and we hope that it will happen soon, we provide these kits in an attempt to at least safeguard that a woman may have a hygienic birth. After that, we'll have to deal with whatever consequences, and we do try to provide also online services if it's possible, and communications are restored. We're doing everything in our effort to align with the humanitarian aid on the Egyptian side of the border, whether that's goods or people, to help relieve some of the overwhelming needs that we have and the heroic efforts of the Palestine Red Crescent Society.
Ms. Baker, there's so much there I want to pull apart. Let's talk about the distribution of these kits. Is that even possible right now? Are supplies coming in?
There's a very thin trickle of supplies. And again, I have to return to the idea and the point that there are 2.2 million people, of whom 1.6 have now been displaced to the south and live in untenable, unhygienic, overcrowded situations, mostly in makeshift shelters. In those circumstances, the distribution is precarious. We know that even some of the sites where the UN should be protected from any hostilities and the missiles and the bombardment that is currently raging from the Israeli side hasn't been protected. But we try our best. We continue to work even under those conditions with our partners who we've been working with for 50 years in order to protect the lives of the innocent lives of civilians, mostly women and their children and their families.
I've been reading reports from doctors in Gaza as they're trying to assist women who are giving birth, and the descriptions are unbelievable. Doctors saying there isn't water, so I can't wash my hands when I go from one parent or one mother to the next mother, that because there's no light, they're using the flashlights from their mobile devices in order to assist women, that there just aren't enough supplies and not enough time. Can you describe for us some of the stories you've been hearing out of Gaza?
I'll try not to get too emotional when I describe that. As a woman myself, and having many loved ones who've been born into this world, and that being a joyous moment for me and for everyone else around them in the family. I can only think about the pain that a woman who is trying to give birth under those conditions, and a doctor or a midwife who is trying to assist that woman to deliver safely. We had one woman who said, every step that I took was a race to death. I was scared. We had another documentary where a woman was terrified that her baby was hearing the sounds of the bombs while she was delivering. I can't imagine what kind of trauma that she and her child will live with for the rest of their lives, even in the event that they could survive the birth itself. And to the doctors, they are doing everything that they can to save the lives under untenable circumstances. WHO has already, the World Health Organization has already documented, as of the 27th of October, 130 attacks on health facilities in the Gaza Strip since October 7th. 130 attacks on what should be a protected entity. No one should target a health facility or health providers. We've lost UN personnel. I myself and our people on the ground were not able to contact anyone in our team for 36 hours. It was only this morning for the last 2 days that I was able to understand and know that our team were at least physically safe, albeit exceptionally traumatized.
Ms. Baker, you are one of the few people that we've spoken with who has been able to make contact with someone or more than one person inside of Gaza. Quickly, before I let you go, what have they told you? What is life like right now?
Life is untenable. It's unbearable for them. There's no water. Imagine that you're a young girl who gets her period and trying to find, when there are 1,000 people, to one bathroom in the best of cases, and where you are trying desperately not to starve to death, to have enough water where you cannot bathe but once every week in the best of circumstances, and where many parents have resorted to giving their daughters and women themselves taking birth control pills to stop their periods. I can only imagine the trauma and the dire health conditions for the population of Palestinians, even when the hostilities desist. We urgently, and critically ask that everyone in the international community who has influence over this lifts and insists on an immediate cessation of the bombardment of Gaza, and to allow for UN personnel and our partners to deliver the necessary humanitarian aid to save the lives of those innocent mothers and children.
Laila Baker, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.